What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Perfumery Basics video. So in today's video, I'm gonna take a look at some green materials. Now, green materials can be all over the place. They can be kind of green in a sense of mossy, they can be green woody. I'm gonna try and focus more on the green grassy and leafy aspects. So we'll take a look at a couple materials. I've picked out, I think, 5 materials because I don't want to review all of them. We'll be here all day doing that. So I picked out 5 materials that I think are good starting materials to play around with if you like green, grassy, or leafy materials. So let's take a look at the first material. Now, the first material is probably the most commonly used thing for a green note in perfumery, and that is going to be Cis3Hexanol. So let me just get a whiff of this. Now, Cis3Hexanol, you're probably going to want to use this pretty low in your perfume formula. So when I mean in your perfume formula, I mean your overall perfume formula, not just if you're making a specific like note or accord. I'm saying if you're looking at the whole perfume formula holistically, Cis3Hexanol, you'll probably want to start playing with it at about 1 to 2 parts per thousand in your formula. And if you want to increase it, you go from there, but start at 1 to 2 parts per thousand because this is pretty strong. It is considered a top note. The longevity on this is roughly only 4 to 5 hours, so it's a green top note. But what you're gonna smell from this, it is probably the best grassy smelling material that I've came across. Now, in a sense of grassy, the best way to describe Cis3Hexanol is freshly mown lawn grass clippings. So for anybody that's ever mown their lawn, and when you're done mowing your lawn and you have the big bag of freshly cut grass clippings from your lawnmower bag and just stick your head in there and smell it, Cis3Hexanol is literally just that. It just smells very freshly cut grass that has this kind of wetness to it, because usually when you cut grass and the blades are just kind of shredding up all that grass, you're gonna get this kind of like this wet grassiness, and that's what Cis3Hexanol is. It's a great material. It's probably one of the materials you must have in your perfume organ. Everyone should have Cis3Hexanol for a grassy green note. Okay, so let's check out the next one. Okay, so for this next material, we're gonna lean to a natural, and this is going to be Violet Leaf Absolute. Now, with Violet Leaf Absolute, because it is a natural, generally the consensus is naturals don't last as long as, synthetic counterparts, which is usually true. But with Violet Leaf Absolute, this is the absolute, so you're gonna dilute this really, really heavily. I have this diluted down to 1%. The longevity on this is really, really, really good. So it's over 300 hours on a paper strip. So this is gonna be a middle to base note if you want a green note. So what does this smell like? Definitely leafy. It's not grassy, but it's now leaning towards the leaf of a flower. It's not sharp. It's not like a sharp cutting kind of leaf note. I would say this is a softer velvety kind of leaf, and it does lean a little on a sweet kind of fruity nuance, but not necessarily. I don't want to say this is a fruity smelling leaf. It's not. It's primarily, I would say, 90 to 95% leaf smelling, like a velvety leaf. But it does lean a little bit on the sweeter side, probably leaning a little bit more towards like a banana kind of scent, if that makes any sense. So yeah, this is probably another must-have, I think, in every perfumer's organ. Violet Leaf Absolute, super, super fresh. Great green leafy note that's not sharp or piercing. It's just nice, green, velvety, and a little on the sweet side. So let's check out the next material. So for this next material now, we're going to look at another synthetic, and this is called Violiff from the house of IFF. Now we're going back to a more of a top note because this will only last 12 hours on a paper strip. So it does last 3 times as long as Cis3Hexanol, but this is now a different scent. This is their take on kind of like a synthetic violet leaf note. So you still get that very green leafy, soft velvety touch to it. But with this one, what they did differently was they amped up that fruity nuance, that kind of sweet banana nuance. So it's very green leafy, but it has this banana tropical vibe, and it's very noticeably strong in this. So when I looked at the Violet Leaf Absolute earlier, that was like 90–95% green with just maybe a touch of, you know, fruitiness. Violiff, to me, is equal parts green leaf, equal parts banana fruit. So this one's pretty good. It's still strong. I have it diluted down to 2%. So usually, again, this is another one of those materials in your whole perfume formula. You're only gonna wanna start off at 1 to 2 parts per thousand and then work your way up from there. I can see a lot of people wanting to amp this up probably maybe to 4 parts per thousand because it's a very pleasing note because it's a little bit more than just green. It has that nice tropical banana vibe to it. So this would work great if you want to add in a green freshness to a fragrance that already has a kind of like a tropical fruity vibe or theme. This would go great with that. So that is Violiff from IFF. Let's see the next one. Now this next green material is called Stemone or Stemone. I'm not sure how it's pronounced correctly, but I believe it's Stemone, and it's made by Givaudan. Another top note, a little bit longer lasting than the other material, so it's roughly 16 hours. So this is an interesting material. This is probably a great workhorse material if you want. It's definitely green and it's definitely leafy, but you'll pick up more of this, almost this stem-like quality. And the best way to describe how this smells, when I smelled this, it immediately made me think of this. If you ever go to a florist and pick up a dozen red roses, and usually within the dozen red roses, you'll get some, you know, a couple random sprigs of, you know, leaves, maybe a couple carnations, and then you'll get some baby's breath. But what this smells like is if you open up that floral bouquet and stick your face towards the stems, not so much towards where all the bouquet of flowers, but in the stems, all that stemmy greenness, that is exactly, to me, what Stemone smells like. It's very stemmy. You still get that greenness and that green leafy, but there's something about this that just takes me immediately to the stems of a rose or a carnation. And it's got this body to it. And it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I actually like this one a lot. Works great if you're doing a fragrance that features any sort of bouquet of flowers and you want to add a little realism that actually adds a little, you know, greenness in the parts of a stem with the leaves. This is a great one to use for that. So again, in the whole grand scheme of things, as far as the whole perfume formula, you're probably, again, you're gonna start with 1 to 2 parts per thousand with this and just go from there, because this is another strong material. You're gonna wanna pre-dilute this pretty heavily. So let's check out one more material. So this last material we're gonna take a look at is an interesting one. I don't think it's a necessity for a lot of people to have this, but it is interesting enough where I bought it and I actually love this. This is called Liffarome from the house of IFF. Again, it's another top note. You'll notice a theme here. All these green materials are pretty much top notes, under 20 hours on a paper strip. So this one roughly lasts about 12 hours on a paper strip, so it's definitely a top note. So with this one, it's kind of like the jack of all trades. It doesn't lean towards grass. It doesn't lean towards leaf. It actually has a little bit of both. I kind of get this grassiness that I found in the Cis3Hexanol, but I also get the same kind of subtle velvety leafiness that I found in Violet Leaf Absolute. But again, there is a fruity nuance to this one. So where Violet Leaf Abs and Violiff from IFF had that kind of tropical banana nuance, this has a fruity pear nuance. So it's not a tropical nuance, but it is a fruit, and it's kind of like a bright pear. So this is a great material in my opinion if you want a general green note that doesn't lean towards leaf, it doesn't lean towards grass, and it has a nice little fresh sparkle to it. That's the best way to describe it. It has a fresh pear sparkle to it. And it just smells great. And it just adds that right amount of sweetness to it. So it's kind of like grass meets leaf meets pear sweet. Thing works great. Now, this is one of those materials that I consider it to be a silent creeper, meaning when I smell it from the bottle, it doesn't smell strong. But believe me, the minute you add this in to your perfume formulas, it will make itself known very easily. I keep this diluted down to 0.5% because on this one, I've always noticed that I usually try to keep this at 1 part per thousand in the formula, because anything more than that, I notice it starts to really want to try and take over the entire perfume blend. But that's not to say you can't take it higher than that. With Perfumery, you know, sky's the limit. If you want to overdose it, by all means. If you like this kind of scent and you want to make it a featured prominent note, by all means, overdose it, use more. But if you're just looking for a subtle green, grassy, leafy, slightly bright pear, Liffarome from IFF does just that. Just make sure you be careful with your dosing on this one. All right, there we go. A quick, easy video. Hopefully I didn't take this one too long as I do with all my other videos. I wanted to keep this one real quick just to give you guys some good ideas on some interesting green, grassy, leafy notes that you can find in some different materials. Maybe you have all these, maybe you don't, and they're worth checking out. So if you have some of these things, go ahead, drop a comment down below. Let everyone else know, you know, your thoughts on how they smell and how you guys use them in your perfume blends, okay? So with that being said, until next time.